Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Ixofex. Always showing up uninvited, this creature was first mistaken for a fallen star and a symbol of good luck. But this venomous parasite from outer space is extremely dangerous. It extracts life from its hosts and grows exponentially fast. So here we have the very first Titan monster, Ixofex. That's right, he is the newest, the latest dark monster, the very first monster from the Titan Invasion Island. So for those of you players watching this video when it was just released, you got to witness the very first Titan event, and for those of you watching this video in the future, for every reason if Ixofex becomes available or whatever, anyhow with that said, you should know that this monster is actually for some reason in the Dragon's book. Yeah, isn't that kind of weird that this alien monster, I mean if you look at his description, it even says he's a venomous parasite from outer space, but for some reason he was placed into the Dragon's book, which is the home to 34 legendary monsters. And aside from that, once again, strangely enough, he's also part of the superheroes book. And I think at this point, Social Point should just go ahead and make a super villains book. That way we have a superheroes and a super villains book, but that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, that's home to 27 legendary monsters. And then lastly, he is in the Evil Legions book, which is currently the home to 74 legendary monsters. So there's quite a bit of competition there. Oh, and of course he's a dark monster, which I mentioned previously, and he is the 49th dark monster to be released. And so with that said, let's jump into his stats. His power is 3542, which is one of the highest powers in the dark category. The only monsters that have a higher stat than Ixofex are Krugbo, Balthasar, which have a power of 3575, and Hyrundelior, which has a power of 3553. And then is Ixofex along with Noxa, Condemned, and General Omniscient. So Ixofex is tied for 4th place, but the power stat itself is in 3rd place. As for Ixofex's life, it's 31,366, which puts him in 9th place tied with Jazzastar, which is also pretty darn tanky. I mean, especially when you consider the fact that there are 49 legendary monsters. This is way above average. And then as for his speed of 3432, this actually puts him tied for 24th place, along with monsters like Mortha McBlood, Fognar, and Balthasar. Now, even though he's in 24th place, or tied for 24th place, the speed stat itself is actually the 8th highest. It just so happens that the dark category, because they have 49 monsters, there are a lot of fast ones, there's lots of deniers, there's a lot of monsters with 3465 speed, 3476, there's quite a few with 3498, and so his speed appears to be rather low, but honestly, his speed is pretty high. All of his stats are actually way above average. Power is amazing, life is amazing, speed is also pretty amazing in my opinion. It's really rare when we get a monster that has really high stats in every category. And to make things better, his trait is Abomination, which means he's immune to possession, nightmares, and bleeding. That means there's no chance the enemy is going to be using your own monster against you. And with that said, let's talk about his skills. His ultimate attack is called Disrupted Existence. Disables traits on all enemies, applies possession to all enemies. And so even though this monster is an attacker, and normally when you have an attacker you want the monster to have an attack ultimate, Social Point did something different where they gave this monster a control ultimate, which possesses the enemy monsters. And aside from that, he disables traits, which means the possession is always going to land. You actually disable the trait first and then you do your possession. So no matter what, you're going to be taking control of all 3 of the enemy monsters. I don't even care that I'm going to be running 1 strength rune or 2 strength runes on this monster, and then if he happens to get his ultimate, he's going to possess. I honestly don't care that the strength runes are going to waste when I use this attack, because it just takes control of everyone. So then it's like having 6 monsters against 3 of the enemy monsters. It's awesome. So I gotta say, I love this ultimate. It's one of the best ultimates in the game. I don't think there's anything worth talking about skills group 1, so we're going to move on over to skills group 2. Starting things off with Angry Xenophagus. Applies damage boost and 1 extra turn to itself, requires cooldown. 23 stamina cost, 3 turn cooldown. It grants you a damage boost, which is a 50% damage increase, and an immediate extra turn. And this is probably Ixofex's best skill. You want to make sure you run this skill. And this is the reason that Ixofex is an extremely powerful attacker. When you look at all of his skill set, when I first saw this monster in Taringa, I saw his skills and I'm like, okay, he's probably going to be a monster that can kill an enemy in 1 hit, or kill all 3 of the enemy monsters if he's strong enough. And it's essentially that is the case. He's a powerful attacker, that's all he is. He's nothing new or anything, but when you saw his power stat, and then when you see this skill, and when you see his future skills, you're going to be like, wow, this monster, I can pretty much bring him into a team, and I know he's going to eliminate at least 1 of the enemy monsters, if not 2, if not all 3 of them. Ixofex Claws is the next attack, deals very heavy dark damage to 1 enemy, applies bleeding to 1 enemy, requires cooldown. 55 damage, 27 stamina cost, 1 turn cooldown, and then it just applies bleeding on top of the damage output. In my personal opinion, I don't think the skill is worth running, just because he has better skills than skills group 3, and the next skill I'm going to talk about is also really good. Ixofex Bite applies massive special damage to 1 enemy, applies daze to 1 enemy, requires cooldown. This time we have a special base attack that deals 65 damage, costs 29 stamina with a 1 turn cooldown, and it also dazes the enemy monster if they happen to survive. But I mean, just take a look at this. If you do Angry Xenophagus and then Ixofex Bite is essentially what, 97.5 special base damage? That is seriously gonna one hit any enemy monster you need to one hit. So definitely be sure to run both of these two skills from skills group 2. And so then moving on to skills group 3, we have Very Angry Xenophagus, which I personally don't think is that great. Applies double damage and increased healing to itself, requires cooldown. And this skill costs 15 stamina, has a 3 turn cooldown. It gives you double damage for 2 turns, and it gives you increased healing for 3 turns. And increased healing, I guess this one's going to increase whatever you heal by an extra 50%, which I personally don't think is needed on an attacker monster. I don't think the increased healing is going to be that beneficial, although I do suspect that maybe Social Point is really going to try to push healing because they just released a monster called Yamada that focuses a lot on healing. So who knows, maybe in this future this skill can have more usability, but as of right now, as of the time I recorded this video, I really don't think this skill is worth it. Currently right now in the game, it's essentially just a setup skill that'll grant you double damage, so the next turn you can like deal some massive damage, especially with this other skill from skills group 3, Fist from Outer Space, deals moderate special damage to all enemies, requires cooldown, 40 special base damage, 27 stamina, cost 2 turn cooldown. And so, ignoring Very Angry and just moving on to Angry Xenophagus, so you get a damage boost, and then you do your special base attack. This is a 60 damage AoE to all of the enemy monsters. Isn't that insanely powerful? 60 special base damage, and this is what makes Ixofex a really great attacker. Again, like when you look at his skills, it's nothing too flashy or anything, but when you look at his skills and then combine it with his stats, combine it with an awesome ultimate that can immobilize, even though he's an attacker, he can immobilize everyone, he's pretty darn good. And with that said, I haven't even talked about the final skill. Above Space and Time, applies possession to all enemies, requires cooldown. It deals no damage, costs 26 stamina cost, has a 4 turn cooldown, but it's an AoE possession. It controls all of the enemy monsters, it possesses them. How crazy is that? We have an attacker that, aside from being able to hit everyone on command, if you need to, if for every reason you can't one hit, if for some reason you just need to possess, he can do that. And it's actually good that this skill doesn't deal any damage, because when a skill deals no damage, the chance of landing the control effect, the negative effect, whatever, is 100%. So you're always going to land the possession. You know, unless they have Hardened or Bulwark or Tough or one of those traits, immunity to possession obviously. But that's so awesome that we have such a powerful attacker that can also control if needed. Now, even though he can control or deny, I'm not saying run 3 speedruns on this monster. You absolutely should not run 3 speedruns on this monster, but I just like the fact that he can control. The rune setup for this monster would be your typical attacker rune setup, and there's really 3 different routes you can go. You can go 1 strength rune and 2 team speed runes. You can go 1 strength rune, a team speed, and a speed rune. Or depending on the situation, you can even do 1 strength rune and 2 speed runes. And of course, if your runes aren't that high level, you always have the option of doing 2 strength runes and a team speed, or 2 strength runes and a single speed. It's really hard to give a general rune setup for everyone, just because players are at completely different levels, and we have the whole ranking system where your monster may be rank 105, 110, 115, 120, 130, so it really depends on your level, and you have to look at your own individual team, your own individual runes, the type of opponents you face, and then decide what runes would be the best for you. But as for skills, I can definitely say that the best skill set for this monster is Above Space and Time, Fist from Outer Space, Ixofex by an Angry Xenophagus. And then the one minute change you can make if you're so against the fact having a no damage skill that denies when you have an attacker that's going to be running strength runes, you could swap out Above Space and Time for Ixofex Claws. That way you could have a single target dark based attack for when the situation calls for it, so that's totally viable too. And so with that being said, that is going to conclude this analysis. Overall, I really like this monster. He's going to be a great attacker, a great addition to the dark category. He's definitely going to be a killer, but that's just my opinion. I want to hear from all of you guys. What do you guys think about Ixofex? Do you love him? Do you dislike him? How do you think he compares in the dark category, in the dragon category, the superheroes category, and in the evil legions category, where he has a lot of competition there? So whatever your thoughts may be on this monster, make sure to share them in the comments below. With that being said, I'm Armor Gaming, this was a monster analysis, and I will see you guys next time.